Hello and welcome to the Responsive Family Sleep Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Hawley, holistic sleep coach, lactation consultant, peaceful parenting educator, and mom. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by all the conflicting sleep info, frustrated with sleep information that just plain felt wrong, or searched desperately for a truly gentle and responsive sleep approach, then you are in the right place. In each episode, we'll be answering your most pressing baby and toddler sleep questions, busting those sleep myths, and helping you understand truly developmental, biologically normal baby and toddler sleep, plus encouraging you to trust your intuition along the way. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Can you believe that it is almost the holiday season? And so when I was thinking about what topic to do for this podcast, I figured, you know what, let's revisit or cover some of the most common questions, challenges, tips, things that I am talking about a lot this time of year and over the next month or so about sleep. Now, goodness, there are a million things with holiday and sleep and holiday season and young kiddos and parenting and family and travel logistics and feeding and discipline and boundaries and limits, and it's a lot, right? So this could be a whole series, truthfully, in and of itself. But I thought I could start with some of the most common things that I'm saying. And really, it comes down to three broad areas, right, that I get a lot of questions about. So, how do I stay on track during the holidays? So, we're in a good routine. How do I not lose it, right? How do we keep the good things going? And, the flip side of that is how do we get back on track, right? Which is a bit of a different conversation. And then I tend to get a lot of questions around safety with sleep setups and, shifting between different sleep setups and, how is all of that going to be managed? And then lots of questions around family and opinions and comments and criticisms and judgment. So I'd say most of the questions that I get fall into those three broad areas. And then, like I said, there's all the travel logistics of managing flights and long drives and things like that, and feeding, but that's probably a bit much for this episode. So we're going to focus on those first three here. But no, you can always reach out if you have other questions. So where do we start, right? I think the most important thing to remember about sleep routines and the holidays is that babies can be flexible. And so it's okay to be flexible. You do not have to be rigid and keep everything on routine with your kiddos. If you know that there are certain things that feel like deal breakers or must-dos for your kiddo to be happy and well-rested, or for you as the parent to be happy and well-rested, then those are things maybe not to let go of. Right? But it's okay if you miss a nap or have a late bedtime or do sleep in a different way than normal, right? Most kiddos can really roll with it, and that's okay, right? And it's okay also to recognize that if you're traveling or having lots of family visitors, that you're going to be a little bit off routine anyway. And so if there's lots of new people around, lots of new activities, maybe some cousins, grandparents, aunts, uncles, all that kind of good stuff, even if you're trying to stick to your routine, it might not work, right? Because there's a lot of moving pieces when we are having lots of family visiting around the holidays. So this is one where you really know your family best, right? You know your kiddo best, but don't be afraid of flexibility. Don't be afraid of prioritizing memories and family experiences over your normal routine. And, be mindful if there are certain things that you shouldn't be flexible on, or you're going to, I don't want to say pay the price because it sounds kind of bad, but they're going to have a big negative impact that isn't necessarily worth it. And don't let people make you feel bad, right, about those things. With my kiddos, bedtime has always been very flexible for my kiddos. We have a lot of flexibility there. I'm not saying that a bedtime too late didn't make it maybe a bit more challenging to help them wind down, but my kiddos as babies and toddlers were not those kids that needed to go to sleep on time or like everything went off the rails. But I've had clients whose kids are, and I have, friends whose kids are. And so obviously we're going to make real different decisions there about what we prioritize, as far as those flexibility versus, sticking with consistency. Now, kind of going hand in hand with that is the idea to maintain some consistency. And this is actually not at odds with what I was just saying. We do need that flexibility, but you want to say what pieces are going to help my kiddo feel like there's routine, like they know what to expect, right? Because those things help littles feel safe, right? And so what are those pieces that feel really powerful? Not just from a better sleep perspective, like I was saying with bedtime. So I don't necessarily mean in sleep payoff, but just what are those little rituals and routines that are really good to maintain even when other things are kind of different, right? Or a little bit more chaotic or a little bit more fluid. Is it the bedtime book you always read? Is it always still prioritizing, you doing bedtime or nursing to sleep? Is it prioritizing those contact naps and baby wearing snuggles? What things just help your little feel grounded and help you feel grounded that you want to think about, that they don't get kind of lost in the shuffle. I think going along with these two is to remember that it's okay to just let go a little bit more than normal. And sort of the more you kind of let go of routine, just to remember the other side of that is maybe needing to bring a bit more intention and accountability to yourself to get back into those routines that you liked, right? That were working for you, on the other side of travel. So, the more we stay on routine, usually the less hard it is to get back in routine after the holidays. The more we get off routines, the more we need to bring intention and accountability to ourselves to get back in routine after the holidays. So that's just a little forward thinking, when we're thinking about, oh my goodness, in January, what are we going to do after a month of, a lot of being off routine and disruption. Now, thinking about sleep safety and sleep setup. So this is a bit of a shift here, right? I feel like this is a huge topic. And honestly, for me as a parent, it was one of the more stressful pieces about travel, not just at the holidays, but we were bed sharing. And so it was what's the bed going to be like, right? Can I make it safe? So there are a lot of pieces to think about here, right? If you're bed sharing, obviously there are safety things you need to be able to think through how you might troubleshoot. If your child sleeps separate than you, then there's making sure you have that safe place for them, right? Are you bringing a travel crib? Are you traveling two people that have a travel crib that you can use? What is that going to look like? But there's also being prepared for unexpected things. Maybe the bed is really not safe. What's the backup plan? How to sort of mitigate that? Maybe your kiddo is really unsettled. Do you know how to bed share safely in case that is actually the best plan in a new situation to keep everyone sleeping well enough to enjoy your trip? So there's lots of nuance and variation here, but just really thinking through, do you have a couple ideas of how these sleep setups could go based on where you're going that are safe and that gave you some flexibility to help everyone get the most rest? Because, the thing with travel is that some kiddos actually sleep really well because there's so much novelty, right? New activity, new stimulation, new people, that they're just really tired and they sleep better than their norm. And the flip side can also be true, right? There are lots of kiddos who just sleep really poorly when they're traveling. And so you want to just kind of plan for both of those and have some flexibility in your sleep setups, right? But still being mindful of safety. Now, Another big area, I guess this is number 4. I have them numbered here on my notes, but haven't been really announcing them, is around boundaries. And by boundaries, I mean boundaries with your family. I think we all know, at whatever point in parenting that you are in, that everyone likes to give unsolicited advice, starting maybe even before you're pregnant, but definitely during your pregnancy, and certainly once babies are here, about how you should be parenting, right? And what people think about how you're parenting. And parenting includes feeding decisions, it includes discipline decisions, it includes sleep decisions. So I think this is a really good time to remember, like, it's okay to have boundaries of what you'll talk about and in the ways that you'll talk about things that you might feel there's some tension on, right? Some pressure, some judgment. Like, you don't owe everybody a full explanation or justification of your parenting choices, right? And it's also okay if you are a person who has family who just needs some education. It's wonderful when you can educate, but you don't have to do that. If you have a family that's really kind of judgy, but why aren't you sleep training? Or why are you bed sharing? Or why are you still nursing? Or why aren't you doing this, that, or the other thing, right? Like, there's so many different things that families can come at you with when we don't have good communication and aren't on the same page. So, it's okay to choose what path makes the most sense for you, to think through, do you anticipate any problem there? You can maybe chat about ahead of time, like, hey, Mom, we've been in a really rough season with sleep. Can we just not talk about it so we can kind of enjoy not debating how we should be handling it? Or, something, if you think that would be helpful. Or come up with some responses about what you could be saying if that's helpful for you. And some people like to have some comebacks ready. Some people really just want to deflect and move the conversation on. Some people just want to have that boundary, like, we're not gonna talk about this, and that's okay. So my last big thing to keep in mind during the holiday season is about connection. And what I mean here is when we have a lot of extra social events, maybe extra travel, extra family visits, even if you're staying put, maybe extra expectations on what we think this season should look like as far as family memories and family activities, all that stuff, right? It can actually end up feeling a little bit disconnected, even if we're actually trying to make a lot of connection. And so I just want to remind you to slow down and be present with your littles. Right? In the small moments. They are going to feel connected to you in those small moments more than the big, exciting, flashy ones, which can be wonderful and fun, but also overstimulating and a little bit chaotic. So just remembering that, slowing down, being present, sort of circling back to some of the earlier points, prioritizing those connection routines and activities and pieces of your normal rhythms are going to help your littles cope with some of the unpredictability and changes and shifting routines that are just normal for the holidays, and that's okay. So basically, to kind of sum things up, we want to remember that babies can be quite flexible, and it's okay to let go of routine a little bit in order to prioritize family experiences, while also balancing the things that we know are really important to them and to us in order to get reasonably decent sleep during this time, right? And to remember that staying on routine and bringing pieces of our normal routine through the holiday season are going to help everyone feel grounded and safe and understand what's expected. Right? We want to have really thought through our sleep situations and sleep setups with safety in mind and with some flexibility in mind that it might not look like what it does at home. We want to think about, do we need to set any boundaries or limits with the types of conversations around sleep and parenting we want to have with our families to keep the peace, to keep our sanity, to make sure that we're not feeling a lot of pressure or judgment. And then just connection. right? Connection is always important, but really prioritize it during a time where there's a lot of competing priorities and changes and routines and environments and travel and people and all the things that make the holidays wonderful. Just remembering to be present, connect, and slow down in those small moments. So I hope these ideas are helpful. I hope you are anticipating some lovely holidays, whatever holidays that you celebrate. There are so many coming up over the next, month or so. I guess month and a half, 2 months, the next little bit. And, I am always here if you want to set up a call, have a conversation about how to troubleshoot any of these sleep challenges that can come up at any time. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this episode left you feeling more informed, confident, and encouraged on your sleep journey. And just a reminder before you go that nothing in this episode is individualized to your specific sleep situation, nor is it to be taken as medical advice. Take what resonates, ignore what doesn't, and check with your healthcare provider about any medical concerns. Take a moment to subscribe to this podcast so that you'll never miss an episode. And take a moment to rate, review, or share an episode you love on social media. All of that helps parents just like you find me, this podcast, and this gentle and responsive sleep information. I'll see you next time.